Welcome to Uncaged. Today we're speaking with Chris Folayan. And, Chris, we're going to be talking about some fun stuff. Chris has an incredible resume. He is an award-winning entrepreneur, and no surprise, we're going to be talking a lot about entrepreneurship and all the things that Chris is doing to help startups get to the next level. He is the CEO and founder of Founder Centered. Founder Centered acts as a matchmaker for startups, connecting them with a vast network of professionals and resources to help them thrive. And so we'll talk more about Founder Centered and what they're up to. But before we get there, Chris, tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, thanks. Quick background. Born and raised in Nigeria. Started my first company at about 7.5 years old. I know that's young, but that's when the entrepreneurial bug hit me, and I started a recycle tire business, which grew to be a pretty significant size. Grades started dropping in school. Mom and dad said, "You gotta quit that business." So stopped that. Then I ended up moving to the States to go to college, and it was my first time being on a computer, like online on a computer, and it just took me by surprise, and I immersed myself in that world. Ended up teaching myself how to program, learned over 20 programming languages in a 2-year period. That got the eyes of the people in Silicon Valley, which is where I went to school. I went to San Jose State University, so the heart of the
Mhm.
Silicon Valley. And word got out that there was this crazy guy who programmed like a mad scientist, and ended up working at several companies, from a hard drive company doing reverse engineering and mergers and acquisitions. This was at age 19. And then ended up moving to another company doing encryption, developing encryption technology for the music industry. Back then,
Yeah.
people were ripping music and putting it online,
The
which was
Napster
the
era.
Napster. That's right, the Napster and LimeWire era. So yeah, had a role
As I
in.
think half of the bandwidth and I worked at a large advertising agency at the time. I think half of the
uh,
bandwidth was going to people downloading music.
Downloading. Tried putting a stop to that.
Yeah, it was a crazy era for sure, Chris.
It
Well,
was.
Chris, tell me a little bit more. You're now the founder of this new group, Founder Centered. You've been doing this now since really kind of the latter part of last year. Tell me a little bit about what Founder Centered's about and where you guys are.
Yeah, so Founder Centered is a platform to help founders connect with the right resources and people to grow their business. You may have heard the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So the founders have these amazing ideas, brilliant ideas, groundbreaking ideas, but they're unable to expand, grow, and get their idea out there in the world because they don't know the right people. They're not connected the right way. So Founder Centered is a platform to help solve that for founders so they can connect with people who want to help them in their industry and help grow their business. So anywhere from, I know somebody here, a connector, or to I can open this door to this business for you, or see how we can work together. So it's really a platform to help founders grow, even though they may not have the right network. We provide that network to the founders.
It's a big challenge. I think that sometimes people have ideas and then they try to get going and they don't know what they don't know. And so it's helpful for them to be able to tap into those types of resources.
Yeah,
So now you've been going for a couple months. You still growing kind of the early audience, or what's the
right.
stage you guys are at?
Yeah, still growing. Trying to get founders in and trying to get the connectors, people we call the connectors, trying to get them on board. So yeah, still at the infant stages of what will be a 3,000 pound gorilla in the near future.
So, Chris, I mean, here you are. You're somebody who's lived in the valley and you've done the whole kind of digital startup thing and lived probably many, many lives during that process. And now you're working with a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, tell me a little bit about what's the feeling in the marketplace. Is this a good time to be an entrepreneur?
It's a fantastic time to be an entrepreneur. I don't think there has ever been a time when it's not good to come up with your own business, be your own boss, see your ideas flourish, and take your creativity to the next step and next level. I don't think there's any time in history that that hasn't occurred, but if there's a good a time as any, it's now. So I tell everybody who has a brilliant, amazing idea, there's no time better than the present. The future is unguaranteed, so why not make the leap right now?
What are the key topics that you're seeing bubbling up right now, with ideas that people are pushing forward?
Yeah, a lot is in the AI world because
Mhm.
that's the new buzz right now. So between AI, global warming, agriculture, those are the big things. And then anything cross-border where it comes to e-commerce or financial movement or movement of money cross-border and payments. Those are the big things that we're seeing right now as the hot topics.
And when you talk to founders, I know that you're also a public speaker and you talk to entrepreneurs and startups all the time. When they look out at the landscape to raise money, are they finding that money's there, or is it I've heard a lot of mixed stories about how interest rates, et cetera, have impacted things.
Yeah, unfortunately, raising money right now is more difficult than it was a year and a half ago. But the fact is, investors still have funds and they have to deploy those funds as part of their mandate in growing their money because the money doesn't make that money sitting in the bank. So as long as you have a good idea and you've done an MVP or a minimum viable product and you've launched it, you have a better chance of getting an investor other than those who just have an idea and don't have an MVP. So I would say if you have an idea and an MVP, you're in a way better category, or if your business is growing, you're in a way better position to raise funds than others at this point in time. But the money is out there. You just have to have a good idea.
I'd just love to get your perspective on this. I mean, you started everything back in Nigeria and now kind of working at the heart of everything in California. Do you still see ideas bubbling out of Africa, or what's the state of play there?
Oh my goodness. Yes. The answer is big fat yes. Africa, Africa has so many ideas and so many new concepts and innovations are coming out of the continent. It's what I tell people, or how I tell people to look at it is when you are in a continent or an emerging market that has less, you tend to try and figure out options and alternatives to do what others can do in first world countries. So you know the, those sparks in the brain are going at a higher rate because we're trying to figure out how can we do this with less and how can we also showcase our products and our smarts to the world. So a lot of ideas are coming out of Africa that can be implemented in first world countries.
I'm excited to learn more about all of that. I've seen a couple in terms of things like saw kind of a medical drone technology there that was unbelievable. I think the stories are just starting there. The stories that will I think revolutionize that continent and some of the countries like Nigeria in the process. It'll be very, very exciting. But Chris, it's you've worked in this area. I think that sometimes we glorify the idea of being an entrepreneur, but it's not easy to be an entrepreneur. I mean, it does require a little bit of like super logic and super insanity. And you've been doing it your whole career, your whole life. What drives that passion?
It goes to just wanting to try something new. I love being creative. I love pushing myself to do things I've never done before in order to learn. I enjoy the process of potentially making a mistake and learning from that mistake to help improve my wisdom in whatever I'm trying. So that's what drives and motivates me. With founder centered, it's really to the core because I love helping people, I love developing, and I love connecting people. So it's, founder centered brings all of that together as an entrepreneur. But I literally love developing new concepts and seeing ideas flourish.
Yeah.
So that's the core.
I appreciate that, and I suffer from the same passion. It's wonderful to see people restructure, rebuild, rethink, think about things that have been taken for granted as if they're foundational, and break them apart and find ways to build better solutions. So, Chris, thank you so much for sharing that with us. If someone wanted to learn more about you and what you are up to, where's the best place to reach you?
Yeah, foundercentered.com. That's the best place. Yeah, just go to foundercentered.com and join as a founder if you're a founder. And if you're not a founder, but you want to be a connector, please join as a connector also and help founders grow their business. It will be an impactful difference in their lives and yours, and you will be blessed for it, I'm sure.
Chris, this is not a year that will be a relaxed year. There's a lot happening this year. We have the Olympics, we have the elections, we have constant discussions about the interest rates. Tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in 2024.
Well, 2024 to me is the year, and based on what my focus is right on right now with Founder Centered, to me, 2024 is the year where founders are going to just really find their foothold in the ground. They're going to get their sea legs going, and really, we're going to see a lot of amazing ideas actually come to fruition and businesses grow this year. That's truly what I see because many companies started during the pandemic. They've been building upon that. And this is the year that they're about to hit the market and really get the world to know that they exist and all the amazing ideas they have. So I'm super
That
excited about
You're making me excited. Well, will
it.
be wonderful to see all of these new businesses come to fruition, and certainly, I think we'll have a whole new generation of businesses that will
Absolutely.
find their way through founder centered. Chris, thank you so much for being on Cage today. We've been speaking with Chris Folayan. Chris is the CEO and founder of Founder Centered, which acts as a matchmaker for startups, connecting them with a vast network of professionals and resources to help them thrive. As you can tell by the conversation we've just had, Chris knows a little bit about a lot, and he can really help companies as they try to figure out how to navigate the world of startups and founder and fundraising and growth expansion and pivoting and all of those wonderful topics. And so Founder Center is an incredible resource for those that are trying to push forward with new ways of thinking about the world and new ideas. Chris, thank you so much for being on the show, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much.